The promise of it is that if we just hold on long enough, if we wait our turn, the pain of grief will magically fade. But for anyone who's lived through devastating loss, that promise is hollow because once again, time does not have the power to heal. All it has is the power to pass. It is what you do with your time that contributes to your healing. Hi there, grief growers. It is a new year and welcome to new episodes of Grief Grower. I am so honored to be with you today. If you have been growing alongside me in my work for a while, welcome back. And if you are new to me in my work, hello. My name is Shelby Forsythia. I am a grief coach, 3-time author, and the founder of Life After Loss Academy, which is a program that has helped dozens of grieving people stop feeling lost, stuck, broken, and alone, and start building lives that they genuinely love from the lives that loss forced them to live. This includes, of course, not only death-related losses, but also losses like divorce and breakup, major diagnosis, and any other major loss or transition that changes your life. Here on Grief Grower, we believe that grief is not something we get over. It is something that we grow with and alongside, and that when we stop treating grief less like a problem to be solved and treat it more like an invitation to live more deeply, we can create meaningful lives that are rich with the memories that we carry, the struggles we faced, and the preciousness of what it is to be alive right here and right now. Speaking of the preciousness of being alive, some of my greatest, I would say proudest achievements in my life, my short life so far on this planet, has been writing and publishing books, and we are less than 3 months away from the release of my third book, which is called Of Course I'm Here Right Now, 3 actually helpful things to say to someone grieving. This little guidebook, less than 200 pages, teaches you how to support a grieving person in your life, even if that person is you, with the best free tool that any of us has, and those are words, so that you will never enter another conversation with any grieving person wondering, what on earth do I say that is actually comforting to them? This comes from more than 10 years of experience working with grieving people and more than 12 years of being a griever myself. It is full of scripts and frameworks and exercises and journaling prompts, and is such a think starter for how to have conversations with people who are grieving. I will say that as an author, pre-orders are super helpful when it comes to getting the book seen by bookstores and the marketing powers that be in this capitalistic society. So you can find a link to pre-order, Of Course I'm Here Right Now, in the show notes. If you have already pre-ordered this book, first off, thank you so much. You could submit your receipt number from Bookshop, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or your local indie bookstore. Thank you for supporting indie in these trying times. On my website, you can submit that receipt on my website to access my free 6-week book club, where we will read Of Course I'm Here Right Now, whether in real hardback copy or ebook copy, and discuss it together as a grieving group. This book club kicks off in early April, so I want to make sure you have your copy of the book before then. And last thing about this book before we get into the episode, if you like to party, if you would like to celebrate the launch of this book with me, I am hosting 2 launch parties that I would love to see you at. The first one is taking place the evening before the book comes out on March 30th here in Chicago. And the second one is the day the book comes out, March 31st, on YouTube. So no matter where in the world you live, you can tune in to hear more about the clients and interactions that inspired the words in this book. And you can also hear me read some excerpts from Of Course I'm Here Right Now live. And of course, the replay of that virtual event will be available if you cannot attend live. So even if you can't come at the time that it's listed, please register anyway, and I will email you a copy so that you can watch it the day after or the week after or whenever it resonates with you. You can get tickets for both of those launch party events at the link in the show notes. Okay, that's all for book stuff. Let's get to today's episode, which is all about the BS myth that time heals all. I titled this episode, Time Heals All is a Lie, because that is something that I have just discussed with every single grieving person in my life. This is friends and family, this is grief professionals, this is clients, anyone who has come across my path. I'm like, what do you think of time heals all? And everyone I talk to is like, oh, that's garbage. So let's talk about why and how it's garbage. If you have ever been grieving, which I imagine you have if you're listening to this podcast, and had this phrase, time heals all, lobbed in your direction, you probably felt dismissed or pissed off or both. It is one of those platitudinous phrases that people offer when they don't know what else to say. But the reality is, and something that I say often, is that time itself does not have the power to heal. Time only has the power to pass. It is what we do with the time while we are grieving that is actually the element of healing. And I suppose to people who have not experienced loss, this phrase, time heals all, sounds comforting. It is very short and it's very certain of itself. Time heals all, period. And the promise of it is that if we just hold on long enough, if we wait our turn, the pain of grief will magically fade. But for anyone who's lived through devastating loss, that promise is hollow because once again, time does not have the power to heal. All it has is the power to pass. It is what you do with your time that contributes to your healing. So today on the show, I want to explore where this phrase comes from, why it's not just unhelpful, but actively harmful, and what actually does help grievers heal over time. So let's get into where the phrase time heals all comes from. The idea that time alone, time all by itself, can mend emotional wounds is not new. It actually is over 2,000 years old. The earliest version of this sentiment is often attributed to a Greek dramatist and poet named Meander, which is funny to me, go meander around in your grief, who wrote around 300 BC, quote, "Time is the healer of all necessary evils." So maybe people were saying time heals all before then, but this is the first instance that at least I could find in my research of it being written in recorded history. And the phrase reappeared later in Chaucer's, I don't know how to pronounce this, so please bear with me. Is it Troilus and Cressida? I'm hoping so. Written in the 1380s. And it is an Old English sentence that basically says, "As time hem hurt, a time doth hem cure." And that is translated to, "As time hurt them, time cures them." And if you fast forward to the 19th and 20th centuries, we see versions of this phrase show up everywhere, from things like Victorian death rituals to Hallmark cards to the well-meaning advice and text messages and so on and so forth that we receive from friends and family. But here's the problem. Just because a phrase has been around for a long time doesn't make it good or true. So let's get to the problems, the issues that I think most grieving people have with the phrase time heals all. So on the surface, time heals all sound cliche at worst. It's a tired thing that gets repeated a lot. The worst thing it can do to you is be a cliche. It is what I giggle at thinking about, a nothing burger of a phrase. So basically a phrase with words and then nothing in the middle that is meant to imply hope or comfort. One day your pain will end, or if you just give it time, eventually healing will happen. But beneath that nothing burgerness of time heals all, the emptiness of those words, it actually makes several dangerous assumptions. And I think this is the issue that a lot of grieving people have with time heals all. Number one, the phrase puts grievers on a passive clock. Someone is counting how long it's been. Time heals all implies that healing is something that happens to you, not something that you actively participate in or pursue for yourself. It encourages this kind of emotional passivity, just sit back and the healing will happen, that demands sit still and wait long enough and eventually you will feel better. Your turn will come, your time will come, the healing will arrive to you. But grief does not work like that. The example I always like to give for this is that we all know someone who is still deeply impacted by a loss from decades ago and still talking about or reenacting the hurt of it. Not because they are weak or broken, but because they were never given the tools or the space or the presence or the witnessing to process that grief and pain. And on the other hand, we also know and have seen people who have experienced life-altering loss and managed to feel joy again, not because time did the work, but because they did. Grievers know, just instinctually and also by looking the hell around, that time in and of itself is not the force that is healing grievers. Grievers themselves are the force that is healing grievers. Here's the second issue I have with time heals all. It dismisses the depth of loss. Hearing time heals all can feel like a slap in the face to a lot of people, including myself. It suggests that pain is temporary or fixable or less significant than it feels. And for someone who has lost a person or a pet or a version of their life, that's the thing that they are grieving, this phrase feels really dismissive and really cruel. And on top of that, the thing that I noticed as I was writing this article for my blog and then speaking it here too on the podcast is that this phrase is like hella impersonal. It says nothing about the significance of your relationship to who or what you lost. It says nothing about, oh, I'm sorry for the loss of your father, or my condolences on your divorce, or whatever's happening. And it also says nothing about the person who's saying that phrase is comforting you. And even equally overused support phrases like, let me know if you need anything, or you're in my thoughts and prayers, that says more about you and the person who's trying to comfort you than time heals all. Time heals all is the most generic grief support phrase I can possibly think of. And the bar for grief support phrases is truly in hell. My best friend Tammy and I used to joke about that a lot, but we're like, wow, the bar is in hell. Like, it should take nothing to offer more than this, to think a little bit harder on what you would like to say to someone than this. And so when people offer your time heals all, it doesn't say anything about who or what I lost or what I possibly miss, or maybe even that you're thinking of me or you want the best for me or you can see how hard I'm trying to get through this. Nothing about that. Time heals all. It is so neutral. It is so removed. It is so impersonal, and it takes all the depth, the real human depth out of what it is to grieve. Okay, finally, number 3, the issue I have with time heals all is that it shames grievers for still feeling pain. This is similar to number 1, is that somehow now you're saying time heals all, you're on a grief clock. But this results in, when grief lasts longer than other people around you expect it to, the ticking of time heals all starts to turn into judgment. This is the other side of the coin of time heals all. So if you are not over it by now, or if you're still feeling sad, even though time has passed, people judge you for how you're grieving. And instead of offering compassion, time heals all becomes a deadline of sorts. When you miss whatever deadline that the people in your life think you should adhere to, it is normal then for you, when they say this, to feel broken or defective, or like you've let them down. You have disappointed their expectations of whatever invisible time is supposed to heal all. But everyone who has ever grieved knows that grief does not adhere to a clock or a schedule or a calendar. Grief does not work in time. It works in spirals and cycles, and a lot of people talk about waves of grief, and I like to say grief works in the spur of the moment. You can be fine one minute and grieving the next, and no two people move through loss in the same way or on the same time frame. It is impossible, I say, to measure success in grief by way of time, because grief doesn't even measure itself that way. I'm going to say that one more time. It is impossible to measure success in grief by way of time, because grief doesn't even measure itself that way. What I want to do now is transition to a snarky bit. So those of you who love the snark, I hope you'll stick around for this one. The thing I think about often with the phrase time heals all is that if that was true, if that was real, if that was what we genuinely believed about grief and loss and healing and life, all old people everywhere would be the most healed among us. If time was the great healer, then all elders in our society would be fully and completely healed. They would be peaceful, they would be joyful, they would be emotionally whole, and that would be on full display for all of us to see. But we all know, from experience, from looking around, from having eyeballs, from having ear holes, that that is not true. Some older adults are still living in the emotional aftermath of a loss that happened 30 or 40 years ago because, again, they never had the chance or the support to grieve it. And some people in their teens and 20s and 30s who have faced tremendous loss are living beautiful and emotionally present lives. Once again, it is not about how much time has passed. It is about what you do with your time. So I've been talking about what you do with your time. And I want to offer you some things to do with your time that support actual healing and grief. Because if time alone doesn't heal, what is it that you do with your time that does? And I will say, kind of my asterisk caveat at the beginning of this, is that the answer is not a single action. It is a collection of practices and mindsets and support systems that create space for healing to happen in your life. Because I think healing is more of a verb than a noun. Healing is sort of always happening, just like grieving is always happening, healing is always happening. And there's never such thing as reaching an ultimate healed destination. I don't believe in that for myself. Like, oh, I'm done grieving now, I'm fully healed. I think you're always grieving, but you are also always healing. So these are a few key things, I listed 5, that truly support healing over time. I've seen this for myself, I've seen this for my clients. Number 1, doing the work of grief. And what I mean by that is this: healing takes work, and it's not just about feeling pain, it's also about processing it. So this could look like journaling or writing letters to the person that you lost or the person that you were before a loss if you did not lose a person. It might look like crying or screaming, which all of you know is my favorite thing, or moving your body in a way that expresses your grief. Getting the physical element of grief to move through you is a way to heal. Talking through memories and regrets with either a trusted friend or somebody who knew your person who died, or a professional who's willing to hear that from you. And then finally, acknowledging what you've lost, literally wrapping words around what it is that you are mourning and talking about how deeply it has affected you. Grief is messy and unpredictable and non-linear, and obviously you do not just feel better one day. You are consistently doing the work of grief to work your way towards a life that can hold grief and joy and healing at the same time. And in my brain, that is real healing verb, not noun. Okay, number 2 is to have a grief-informed community, because to me, especially after my mom died, especially after my best friend died, even after my cat died, I learned that one of the most healing forces in the world is being witnessed by other people, having other people see and receive and honor and validate the grief that you are going through. And when you are in community with other people who get it, not because they're trying to fix you, but because they're traveling the same road that you are, the burden that you carry lightens because it is shared. That is in part why I created Life After Loss Academy, which is my online course and community, because grieving people need and deserve a space where they can be fully themselves, grief and all. And if you are interested in learning more, you can watch the free workshop that's included in the links section of my show notes. Okay, number 3 is giving yourself permission to grieve. I think this kind of ties into doing the work of grief, but giving yourself permission is sort of worth its own explicitly named bullet point in this list, because much of healing in life after loss is tossing out your old beliefs about grief and giving yourself permission and grace as you figure out what grief actually is. So giving yourself permission to grieve looks like dropping the timeline of when healing should happen and how it should look. So it's kind of getting rid of the shoulds. It's also letting grief change you, including your values and needs and identity. Giving yourself permission to grieve looks a lot like giving yourself permission to change. We can talk about that on a future episode. Absolutely. Let me know if you're interested in that. It also looks like allowing emotions to arise without judgment. I think that's what most people think of when they think of give yourself permission to grieve. And if you are interested in any of these things, my first book, Permission to Grieve, is born out of this question of how do I give myself permission to grieve? It is a 3-part structure, one of my favorite things. I also have a 3-part structure, and of course I'm here right now, but it gives you guidance and exercises and journaling prompts. It's kind of my token thing on how to give yourself what I call the 3 permissions: permission to feel, permission to be, which is permission for your identity to change, and permission to do, to take your grief out into the world to be seen by yourself and to other people. So if that's something you're interested in, you can also visit shelbyforsythia.com and snag a copy of that. Number 4 is staying connected to your grief. And this is staying connected to your grief as a force, but also if you are grieving the death of a person or a pet or a life that you used to live, it's still extending tethers toward that life and allowing yourself to stay tied to it in some way, because to me and to so many other grief professionals and grievers, healing is not about forgetting. Healing is about rooting yourself or tethering yourself even more deeply to who and what you lost so that you can carry all of those things into the future with you, and creating small, predictable rhythms and routines can help you feel grounded as you navigate life after loss. So things like morning rituals or bedtime routines or memorial traditions every year or grief anniversary practices are all like little baby anchors that say, I am still here. I am still breathing. I still remember. I am still moving forward. I am still doing this. If you are grieving the death of a person, my book, Your Grief Your Way, shows you how to develop an ongoing relationship with the person that you lost. And there's a lot of examples of rituals and letters or storytelling or visualizations that help you stay connected with them. Again, you can find that at shelbyforsythia.com. And if you are grieving something besides a person, divorce, breakup, major diagnosis, job loss, estrangement, geographic move, insert your loss here, you can always join us in Life After Loss Academy. The grief framework, GRIEF, that I teach inside of that course, and these are all on-demand video lessons, can help you figure out what are the rituals and the routines and the connections that I want to maintain from the people and things that I've lost, And what do I need to release in order to be able to move forward? And there are live calls with me every single week, so I can work through that with you. And again, you can always find more information about all of those things in the show notes. The last thing I want to offer you here is consuming grief-honoring media. This is stuff that can help you heal and heal and heal again over time. Things like podcasts, books, blogs, movies, music, even grief professionals on social media are all wonderful places and forms of content to seek out information or tools or support as you move through grief. You can listen or you can read, you can scroll or you can watch. There is so much that you can take away from the things that other people have made that are grief informed. And to find things that resonate with you, you might consider Googling things like grief shows or podcasts about loss and death or free grief support blogs to get started, and you can customize them with your individual losses. So you might say podcasts about estrangement or TV shows about the death of a parent or movies about the loss of a pet or something of that nature. And you can type in your specific instance of loss and see what other things people have created to consume, to absorb with those grief themes and storylines. Because sometimes healing can come from observing how others have done it. And doing that kind of observing over time is a form of healing in life after loss. Before we go, I want to offer you some things to say instead of time heals all. If you are supporting someone grieving, there are alternatives that are much better. They are more meaningful, they are more personal, they are not the nothing burger of time heals all. Here's just a few. I don't expect you to be okay right now. You don't have to have it all figured out. I am here to listen, even if I don't know what to say. There is no right timeline for grief. Take all the time you need. I mean it. And I see how much you're hurting, and I am not going anywhere. Each of these phrases is so much better than time heals all because they relay your care and support while also granting the grieving person in your life permission to grieve in their own way and on their own schedule. Something that I firmly believe is that we should put the time heals all phrase, myth, worldview to rest. We should put this away and not say it ever again. Because one more time, time is not the healer. You are the healer of your grief and loss experience. Your willingness to feel, your courage to show up, your effort to consistently and continually honor what's been lost or taken from you and to keep going anyway, these are the things that are healing in life after loss. So the next time someone offers you time heals all as a response to your grief, you have every single right in the world to disagree. And you can say, here's a response back to them. Actually, I'm the one doing the healing. How about them apples? I will see you next time on Grief Grower. That's all for this episode of Grief Grower. Thank you so very much for joining me today. If you're looking for grief support beyond this show, you can find free workshops, blog articles, and my new What's Your Grief Supporter Strength quiz at shelbyforsythia.com/links. And if you'd like to get support from me for your unique loss experience, join us in Life After Loss Academy, my online course and community. As a student, I'll walk you through my 5-step grief framework for rebuilding after loss, and you can get live coaching from me every single week to answer your questions. Replays are always available if you can't attend live. It is just $33 a month to join, or $22 a month if you are a marginalized or financially stressed griever. You can cancel your membership at any time. If this podcast felt validating, comforting, educational, hell yeah, or otherwise helpful to you, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And be sure to share this show with a friend, because you never know what someone you love is going through. Grief Grower is hosted by me, Shelby Forsythia, with music by Addie Goldstein. And until next time, I see you. I am so proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world. And I love you. Because even through grief, we are growing.